What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're back in the usual spot, hanging out in the boat, working on tackle. This is where you guys always see me, it seems like. I'm always here. Just a great place to sit and talk some bass fishing with you guys. So if you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. We're really trying to grow this channel. We're pumping out 3 videos a week right now, and all of it is great content that helps you guys catch more bass. You know, that's the goal of this whole channel, is to help you guys catch more fish. So that's what we're trying to do here. But today we are talking about, one of the, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very contrasting, the opinions on this bait. We're talking about the Carolina rig and some of my favorite baits to put on the Carolina rig. You know, a lot of people really don't like the Carolina rig. A lot of people really love the Carolina rig. I'm kind of in the middle. You know, I'm on the fence on a couple things, but I do know the Carolina rig gets bites in certain situations. It's a tool that I use in my boat, certain situations, certain times of the year. And I'm going to walk you through some of my favorite baits to put on the Carolina rig, and then really just my whole Carolina rig setup. I feel like I have a pretty dialed in setup that helps me do it more efficiently. So if you guys are ready, let's jump in and I'll show you all the juice from my Carolina rig setup. Okay, so I kind of cut this off the rod so it's a little easier to work with and show you guys, but this right here, this is the business end of my Carolina rig setup. So this side right here, this would be your main line that goes to your rod and reel. It's just a lot easier for me to manage and show you guys if I cut it off like this. So first thing I like to do is add a bobber stopper. So the bobber stopper is going to do a couple things. It's going to keep your weight from sliding way up your line towards your rod. You know, if you make a cast, a lot of times that weight wants to slide away from the swivel and kind of just get way out away from where it should be, pulled up against that swivel. And, you know, it's going to make the bait fall differently, and it's not going to allow you to cast as far. So I always like to put the little bobber stop there, and it just keeps that weight pretty close to the swivel. You know, I don't want it super tight against there because I still want some movement, but I don't want it to be sliding, you know, 5 feet up the line when I make a big cast. So, okay, we got a bobber stopper. Next up, we got a Epic Tungsten Carolina rig barrel weight. So I like the barrel rig, or the barrel style weight for the Carolina rig, because it just kind of comes through cover better. You know, it's not real fat. It's that slender cylinder style profile, and it kind of pulls through rock and cover very well. And then after that, I put 2 beads on there. So I put 1 bead, and its main goal is to kind of protect that knot from the weight smacking down against it. And then the second bead is for more of a noise and an attraction standpoint. So you see that 1 bead really kind of stays there and protects that weight from this stuff bouncing against it. And that second bead adds a little noise and a little more protection. So as this is bouncing around on the bottom, that weight is clicking against those beads and making a clicking sound, and it can really attract some fish that way. Then you run it down to a swivel. So here we have a, I'm not even sure what brand swivel that is, but that's just a high quality swivel. You know, you want to make sure you use a pretty high quality swivel, because that swivel is going to be keeping you and your catch connected. So you want to make sure it's a very strong swivel that can handle catching a big fish, you know, if you were happen to load up on a big one. And then on the other side of the swivel, that line goes to your hook. Whatever hook of choice you like to use. For me personally, I really like to use a round bend style hook, like the Trocar TK100 or the TK105, the Pro V round bend. Just a perfect worm hook. You know, it's got a good gap in it, and that allows you to rig a variety of different baits. You know, I'll adjust the size of hook to the bait I'm throwing, but I really like that round bend style hook for this. You know, I really don't like using an EWG style hook, so I really lean towards that round bend style hook. So that right there is the setup. As far as line, You know, everyone has a different opinion on Carolina rig line. For me, I keep it pretty simple. I like 20 pound for my main line. So that would be from the top side of the swivel where your weight is to your reel. I'm going to use 20 pound Seaguar Tatsu fluorocarbon there. And then from the back side of the swivel to your hook and your bait, I'm going to use 15 pound Seaguar Tatsu. So it's a little bit lighter line. And the reason I do that is, you know, this side of your rig is not necessarily hitting the bottom as much. You know, that this is the part that's dragging on the bottom, so I want that little bit heavier line for that. And then from the back side of the swivel to your hook, that's generally floating and just kind of slowly following this, and it's not necessarily down there getting nicked up on the bottom. So that's pretty much my line setup there. I keep it simple, and that's pretty much what I use 90% of the time is a 15 pound Tatsu from my swivel to my hook, and then have 20 pound rigged up on that rod. You know, as far as rods throwing a Carolina rig, I like a 7'6" heavy. You know, you want to have a long rod that you can kind of sweep side to side as you drag this across the bottom. You know, it's more of a side drag rather than a up and down drag, because if you're going an up and down drag, that weight is going to want to lift off the bottom. But if you keep that rod tip to the side, you know, it kind of drags along the bottom more. So that's why I want that longer rod, so I can kind of move the line to the side. So a 7'6" heavy, like I said, 20 pound fluorocarbon on there, and definitely you want a fast gear ratio reel, like an 8.1 to 1 gear ratio reel. So that is the weight and hook setup. Now, as far as baits, so really, I would say when I'm fishing a Carolina rig, there's only 3 baits that I'm putting on it. First up, probably my go-to Carolina rig bait is the OG brush hog. The big one, not the baby brush hog, the big brush hog. You know, this is a big buoyant bait. It just kind of crawls behind a Carolina rig very well. These tails kick a little bit, and it's just a big bulky profile, perfect for a Carolina rig. So that's my #1 choice. You know, that's the first thing I'm rigging up on a Carolina rig. If I notice they're not biting that near as good as I want, I'm going to go to more of a straight tail worm. And this right here, this is the Yamamoto Slinko. So the cool thing about the Slinko is it is made out of buoyant plastic. So this floats by itself. So this will get your stereotypical Carolina rig action where this is floating up behind the weight. You know, this will float your hook back there and just kind of be floating behind your weight. So this is what color is this? This is the plum apple color. I mean, that is a beautiful worm color for that deep water Carolina rig fishing right there. And this is my second choice on a Carolina rig. So after that, really the only other bait that I would ever put on a Carolina rig would be a soft plastic jerkbait style bait, you know, like the Yamamoto D-Shad, the Zoom Super Fluke, something like that, you know, mimics a shad very well. A lot of people have called this the PD rig in the past, but basically putting that soft plastic jerkbait on a Carolina rig gives it a different profile. It kind of imitates a shad and kind of darts behind that weight, and you can get a lot of bites on the Carolina rig soft plastic jerkbait. But that's it, guys. That's the juice on my Carolina rig fishing. You know, I don't do it a whole lot, but it definitely has a piece of the puzzle in my boat. You know, there's always a time throughout the year where I'm going to have a Carolina rig rigged up, and usually end up catching a few fish when I throw it. You know, the biggest problem for me is slowing down enough to fish it. You know, it's a very slow moving technique, and generally I get too hyped up on the water and I want to fish too fast. So it takes a little bit for me to slow down, but it definitely can put some fish in your boat. So if you guys are looking to up your Carolina rig game, hopefully you'll learn something from this video. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all those likes and comments down below. Check the description for links. We got direct links to Fish USA to pick up all this tackle. Everything's available over there at Fish USA, and they really appreciate you guys supporting me and supporting the channel by clicking those links and getting your tackle over at Fish USA. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.